In this video, we'll talk about how we guide our lead to decide to buy, okay? And how we do that is we take our lead and we make sure that our lead is anchored in their hero state internally for their decision making, specifically with respect to getting coverage, because that's the goal of this conversation, right? And we define the hero state as displaying traits that are good, responsible, brave, and powerful with respect to their decision making regarding getting coverage. So when we're talking about coverage, talking about the bells and whistles of it, answering questions, making the decision, doing the cost benefit analysis, we want to make sure that our lead is anchored in powerful, brave, responsible, and good decision making so that they can reach their goal, so that we can reach our goal, we and the lead, we and now the hero can reach the goal that is acquiring coverage, whatever type of coverage it is that we're discussing, selling, deciding to buy. And coverage is essentially a plan, right? And protection of assets and loved ones against the unforeseen. And also, coverage means peace, which is actually the higher goal, or the goal of the goal. Let's call it the higher goal. The higher goal that our hero is after, whether they realize or acknowledge or not, what they're actually here for is peace of mind for having taken care of a plan and protection against the unforeseen for whatever assets they have or whichever beneficiaries they have. That's really what's incongruent in how they see themselves versus the reality that we're in. And so we cure that by highlighting the fact that giving ourselves peace of mind involves getting the coverage. And so getting the coverage is just the next thing to do. It just makes sense. It's the next step. It's obvious to do so that our hero, who is good, responsible, brave, and powerful, can feel that way, having gotten the coverage which gives them peace. Now, in order to, start with the lead, make sure they're anchored in their hero mind state and attain the goal, there needs to be a guide who helps the lead do all these things, right? And a guide is someone who is focused, experienced, knows the rules and the tools for the journey that is acquiring coverage, and also, most importantly, reminds the hero of their role, which is to be powerful, brave, responsible, and good within their decision making with respect to coverage for themselves and their loved ones. And also the goal, which is coverage, right? And here is you, the agent. So actually, how we guide our lead to decide to buy is that we, the agent, must anchor ourselves in the mindset of being focused, being experienced, understanding which types of coverage and the bells and whistles of each of the coverages that apply to the hero and their pain points. And then throughout the process, despite any hiccups, any pitfalls, any distractions, any objections, reminding the hero of their role, which is to be powerful, brave, responsible, and good in terms of the decision making and the actual goal, which is not only coverage, but also the peace of mind that comes with it. Okay? You do that. You help them. That's where they need you. Now let's talk about the framework where we're able to exact this and reach the correct conclusion, okay? So inside of the framework, the sales framework, we'll have an introduction, we'll have the information gathering stage, which will allow us to identify the pain points that we're trying to solve, which will allow us to provide the solution to the pain points, which will then allow us to go over the costs versus benefits of acquiring coverage versus continuing to have the pain point, and ultimately making the decision to buy, right? And this is the sales framework. The sales framework that is the hero's journey, where we, the agent, anchor ourselves in the mind state of a guide so that we can help the lead anchor themselves in their mind states in the internally as the hero, which they are, because we wouldn't be on this call if they didn't at least have the inkling that they need coverage. And if you need coverage for something or someone, that means you have something or someone to cover, right? You have assets and you have beneficiaries. And so when we help them lock into the mind state where they have good, responsible, brave, and powerful traits, which they have in the foreseen, you won't have assets and you won't have beneficiaries unless you're already displaying traits that are good, responsible, brave, and powerful already. We're just extending that to using this mindset for unforeseen circumstances, which is why you get coverage, because you get a plan and protection for your loved ones and your assets against the unforeseen, which will bring you peace, which is what the higher goal is really, okay? So inside of the intro is where we establish that we are the guide, right? And then in the information gathering stage is where we identify both who we're getting the coverage for, beneficiaries, and why we believe we need coverage. As far as the why, we get to the why, the crux of the why, with two questions, okay? The first question that we ask is what's going on? General question. Here we want to get context and understand what's happening, what the situation is for the lead, and making sure that we understand that we can actually help them in their situation, right? Also, when you ask what's going on, you want to listen, repeat, and commend hero traits. Because when you ask someone who has beneficiaries and assets what's going on, they're going to speak, and when they speak and give you context, they're going to tell you things that they're doing or that they already have done that are powerful, brave, responsible, and good. They've already done this before. They're already a hero in many ways. We just want to make sure they're anchored in that mind state for the rest of the conversation. That is the journey. That is the sale. We do that by asking the question of what's going on, and then listening for hero traits, repeating those hero traits, and commending the hero traits such that we anchor the mind state of our lead in the hero traits, which is, part of, honestly, what I think is the most important role for you, the agent, which is to remind the hero of their role and of the goal. And again, their role is to be good, responsible, brave, and powerful with respect to the decision making about coverage for themselves and their loved ones. Okay? The second question you want to ask is, what goal do we achieve with coverage, with this coverage? And you want to ask that because two reasons. The first reason is that we've now shifted the frame of the conversation past the decision to buy. We're sitting now hypothetically inside of a situation where we've already purchased coverage and talking about what goals we get or what we redeem from already having purchased the coverage. So you want to get in that mind state while being the hero, while holding on to the decision making as a hero. And what that will give you is responses around the fact that they'll be relieved because they've taken care of a responsibility, they've done something good, they've enacted bravery where they may have made a move that they didn't normally, or they don't normally make. You know, they made a life change or something that they feel is a little bit different than what they're used to, which is fine, because bravery is understanding the circumstance and understanding that you have to make decisions and do things that may be personally uncomfortable, but you understand it's for the greater good of yourself and your loved ones, right? That's part of being a hero. And then, of course, that they are making powerful decisions. And they use that power to give themselves a plan for protection against the unforeseen for their loved ones. And ultimately, that's what gives them peace. So here, ultimately, you're going to hear variations of peace of mind. Okay? So that's why it's important to ask these two questions inside of the why, for why our lead, now anchored hero, believes they need coverage. Okay? From there, we identify the pain point, which is essentially the who and the why we're doing this, and solving for the fact that they are not properly covered. Then we can present the solution, which is going to be the coverage, but more specifically, it's going to be the bells and the whistles of the coverage that speak to the pain points that we identified by asking these questions. Okay? And then from there, we go through question and answering, getting comfortable with the understanding of what deciding to buy means for our hero. And then we go over the costs and the benefits. Now, at this point, we've stacked the benefits, which are the coverage for self and for loved ones, which are the plan, which are the protection against the unforeseen circumstances in life that happen all the time, and also the peace, which is honestly priceless. So it's a very big factor, and you want to make sure you highlight that, because whatever costs that's built into acquiring this coverage, it's a perceived cost that is going to be smaller than the peace of mind attained from having actualized the hero mind state and made decisions as the hero that our lead already is. They already do things that are good, responsible, brave, and powerful because they have assets and they have beneficiaries. You can't accomplish those things without being good, responsible, brave, and powerful in your decision making. So essentially, we're just reminding the hero of their role and their goal constantly. Whenever we come up against some objection or some issue, some pitfall in the journey that is the sales conversation, right? And then from there, once we realize, highlight, and acknowledge that in order to give ourselves peace, what our peace of mind wants is a plan for protection of loved ones and ourselves, then deciding to buy is just the next step. It makes sense to do. And whatever cost we're perceiving, it's not as expensive as the feeling of being weak or not powerful, being cowardly, being irresponsible, or being bad, which are the opposite of the internal state of the hero, which our lead is. Okay? So in a nutshell, let's see screen. How we guide our lead to decide to buy is that we anchor ourselves in the guide's mind state, right? So we make sure we are focused, experienced. We provide the correct rules and the tools of how to help the hero enact their role, which is to be good, responsible, brave, and powerful, and reach their own goal, which is not only coverage, but also the peace of mind, right? So we anchor ourselves in the guide's mind state so that our lead is anchored in the hero's mind state, whose desire is peace of mind, which they attain by deciding to buy. Baby's awake. Okay.